Just a 90 days.
You're first.
She picked me up on the road.
First, I don't know.
We do what we told.
Oh, you're like me. Sometimes I rebel and it doesn't work.
I grew up with those. She's among ours.
There must be something like this. These people seem to be involved.
So we're at 5:28. It's nice to have a nice crowd in here.
Feel free to come more often.
Yes. And you know what's really nice is, at least from my perspective, that Dean is not blocking any of the attendees. How about for you?
Yes?
Yeah.
We still need to move the chairs this way.
Yeah.
If we just rearrange.
Musical chairs, Jack? Let's see what we can stop.
chairs. Sorry.
Okay.
I couldn't see it.
So,
I can't.
you let me know, Dan, Maria, or Bridget, when
Right
we
at 5:30.
launch.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm going by the phone clocks and stuff. That clock up there, John Cale hasn't fixed it yet. Right? Good. That was,
Not that it wasn't just designated 2 minutes ago, but something we can do.
all right, well, I'll take the, okay. Well, I want to wait, I want to welcome everybody to the Thursday night, June 27, 2024 Town Board Workshop in Webster. We have 2 agenda items tonight that start out at 5:35 with the first agenda item, and lo and behold, it's only 5:30, so what can we do with these 5 minutes? And at the risk of my friend Dorothy Dolly McGuire getting angry with me, will you take a walk with me up to that podium, Ms. McGuire?
It was a big risk.
I said at the risk of her getting mad at me, and if you don't mind, it would be wonderful. I did tell you I wouldn't do it, but I lied. And I would love if our town board members came up, and to be honest with you, I would love if her staff came up. Look at her, she's, I'm getting the look of death right now, okay? All right, I'm hoping. I did promise you that we wouldn't make a big fanfare of your retirement, but you also, I blame you for this because you have been so phenomenal the last 4+ years in the position, plus your previous position. Did you think we were going to let this just go without doing something? Well, we really all decided that can't happen. So I hope you get over this and aren't too upset. But as I think a lot of people know, Dolly has actually been the town clerk and tax receiver since July of 2020. So it's been 4 years, and I got to tell you something. I think we all can agree what a pleasure it is to work and know this woman. This is class personified. And so with her last day being June 30th, which is only 3 days away, we have a proclamation here for outstanding service that I'm going to read off. It's presented to Dorothy, but as we all know her, Dolly M. McGuire. And whereas it is the intent of the Webster Town Board to recognize the outstanding efforts and contributions of its employees, and whereas the work of a public servant is rarely easy but always necessary, the Webster community is stronger for the tireless work of the employees who have chosen to work for the town. And whereas Dorothy Dolly McGuire started her career as a public servant in 1989 for the village of Malone in New York, she began working for the town of Webster in April 2017 as a part-time clerk in the finance department. In December of 2019, Dolly became a full-time budget officer in the finance department. And whereas Dolly transitioned to her position as full-time town clerk and receiver of taxes in July of 2020, through the years, Dolly has worked tirelessly to provide stellar service to our community. Each week and most weekends, I'm out of chagrin, I lost my spot. Dolly could be found working long hours to ensure the highest quality of customer service for Webster residents. And whereas Dolly exemplifies what it means to be a public servant, the town of Webster has been fortunate for the steadfast service of such a dedicated, committed, and true employee. Dolly will be missed for all of these qualities, as well as her friendly and compassionate nature. Now therefore be resolved that on the occasion of her retirement as the town supervisor of Webster, on behalf of the Webster Town Board and the entire Webster community, we extend our sincerest wishes to Dolly for a long, happy, and healthy retirement.
Thank you. Really fantastic. Thank you so much. All you do. Thank you.
And you only if you want.
I know, you know I'm one of many words, right?
Okay.
I just want to thank the town board for giving me this opportunity to serve my community. It's been a pleasure. Nothing pleases me more than to be part of it, makes me feel like I'm part of the community. And I'm not originally from here, I'm from the North Country, but this has given me a great opportunity to bond with the community, and I say thank you very much. I also want to thank my staff, who's totally amazing. I think we've always made a great team. They've been with me since pretty much day one, and I can't thank you enough. So thank you.
Thank you.
I think you're going to be in great hands with our new town clerk, Deneen Marr. Thank you.
I think, Bridget, you got a lot of pictures, didn't you?
I did.
All right.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, just want to make sure
Yeah.
not too bad. Uh-oh.
It's gonna hurt tomorrow. I know.
Hey, look, it's 5:35. We did that all in 5 minutes. So now the two agenda items that are formally tonight. We start out with a presentation. EMS, ambulance update in Webster. Actually, there's two presentations. One, is it Dan? Are you giving it?
Yes.
Dan, okay. Dan Reardon from Penfield Volunteer Ambulance will present on the first 3 months of Penfield Volunteer Ambulance, covering the whole town of Webster, including the West Webster Fire District and the Northeast Joint Fire District. And then it doesn't say it on here, but I think Russ Ziskin will then give an update on the long-term EMS in Webster efforts of the committee that he and Councilman Cahill co-chair. So, Dan, I'll hand the baton out to you.
Okay, I can kind of see the TV screen. Thank you, Tom. Dan Bearden, the EMS manager at Penfield Ambulance. We just hit day 90 today of servicing the whole town of Webster. I'd like to say it's gone quite well. Obviously, it's taken a team, a lot of communication, a lot of direction, and leadership. I feel kind of quite blessed when I have a board of directors that have been very supportive of this effort, and a whole operations team, and a group of 30 full-time employees, which grew from just 20 until we had to take over the whole town of Webster, and about 45 part-time employees, and a large team of another 40 volunteers. But nothing's perfect, nothing's seamless, but the first 90 days, I'll say, have gone quite well in service of the whole town. We do have the stats. In total, in that 90 days, 1,119 calls. We had mutual aid at 36, just covering right below 97%. Department of Health would like you to be right around 90%. The Melrose region, as an ALS agency, should be above 92 to 93%. It's impossible to cover 100% of your calls. It's also not healthy from a fiscal budgetary perspective to cover all of your calls. It's just also quite impossible. We only have so many ambulances. We did just purchase our 8th because of this endeavor and growth. And we are staffing 5 trucks to service both towns with a robust plan to move up and move down to cover the whole town of Penfield and the town of Webster. East Webster is a bit busier. That's basically from Harbor Road and east, 651 calls. We've dropped 23 of those. West Webster, 468 calls, and we've dropped 13 of those. Total, 1,119, mutual aid at 36. And without a gap of coverage for the town of Penfield. Our coverage for the town of Penfield is also right around the 97% threshold as well. Next slide. A little bit smaller print, but besides just taking calls, there's a lot of community involvement with the town of Webster. One thing that I've loved and I've learned a lot about this community is it's very engaged. Whether it's taking a phone call and our understanding of somebody in the community's not understanding of how EMS is going to work, we provide that to them, and I do appreciate this community's engagement on this topic. And they've asked a lot of great questions, and they've helped us a bit too. Staffing and support for the solar eclipse on April 8th. We've helped out that day with the Parks and Rec, with their event. The summer celebration just 2 weeks ago, provided a bunch of staff and an ambulance at. Provided ambulance for West Webster and Webster Fire Department trainings and events. We worked with the Monroe County Office of Emergency Management. Some people may not know this, but those folks that especially live in East Webster, you are in the evacuation zone for Gannett. We had to do some planning now that being the responders in that community, we could have to deal with the radiological emergency or an evacuation. Not something we're familiar with in Penfield, but something we had to take on and learn. And we even participated in an exercise at Rochester General Hospital with some FEMA representatives. It's something we learned a ton about just a few weeks ago. We've also worked with the Webster Central School District, with their resource officer, with their health and safety officer. We supported their DWI drills. One of them was rained out. One of them did take place just last week. We did support both graduations and did have an ambulance at. And we did also participate in the Memorial Day Parade for the Webster American Legion. We did provide standbys for that and also had an ambulance in the parade. And our ambulance coverage and standby for assistance for the upcoming Webster Firemen's Parade and Carnival in just about 2 to 3 weeks. That will be potentially about 100 hours. We're also going to work one of the stands for them, but also provide first aid coverage for the Carnival and transporting ambulances for the parade and event itself. So besides taking on 1,400 calls, there's been 1,100 calls, 1,400 in Penfield. There's been a lot for us to do and really move into this community and learn. Any questions from Tom Ward?
I don't have any questions, but I just want to commend you and your team on ramping up to cover all of Webster. It was a tough lift, and you guys really stepped up. And 96% coverage is phenomenal. So, and then you look at the community engagements. That's equally as important. We greatly appreciate all the work that you and your team has put forward.
Thanks. There's tons of things. I mean, this only touches the major. There's been tons of meetings with, business in the town and meeting folks. But these are the major manpower events that we've assisted with.
I would also like to comment on that. I know that one of the concerns when we moved forward was that we were not going to have our community hometown emergency medical response people. And I think that you have gone above and beyond to become part of the community, and you've shown that Webster is really no different than Penfield, and that you have our community's best interest at heart. I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
And along those lines, we ended up the hometown ambulance, which is again, very important to the community. Two things I want to say about that is that the Penfield Volunteer Ambulance staff, leadership, Dan, Glenn, and also their board have been great in this because we've been very candid with them that we really can't. We did a contract for 9 months through the end of December. We've been trying to be upfront with them that we're looking at long-term options. We owe the community that. and I won't take your thunder away, Russ, for what
He's
you're
trying.
about to. And there were some things that they did that are somewhat leap of faith to cover Webster as quickly as you did after we had our previous agency give us a 90-day notice. But within that, part of being hometown is where your ambulances are based and where your EMTs and paramedics are coming out of. And I thought it was great that you got the Gravel Road Firehouse in Webster, and I think the one also up for Northeast Joint on Phillips Road.
Yes.
To have an ambulance there for Penfield Rouse families, to have the EMTs and paramedics, to be able to be inside of a building, kitchen, couch, when they're not on a call, instead of having to sit in the rig in the driveway or a parking lot. Those EMTs and paramedics work their tails off, and it's just, we've talked about it. It's a disrespectful thing to stage them in a parking lot. And so I really applaud the efforts you made with the fire departments here in town. And that really gives us that hometown ambulance. You're here right now, so I hope that's not taking away Russ's stuff. Anything else, Jen?
Are you based in other places around Webster or just those two?
Just those two. We do tend to backfill, which is technically the town of Penfield, at the State and Plank Road Firehouse. It's one of West Webster's firehouses, but if both towns become depleted of resources and we have one resource left, we put a resource there because it is in the middle of 72 square miles. And again, compliments to making this team work. The fire departments have been very cooperative and willing to allow us to utilize their firehouses, to Tom's point, where we don't have to stage and post in parking lots, to the comfortable work environment, because it's an employee workplace and we're very mindful of that and the retention.
Excellent, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It's
Thank you,
very
folks. Appreciate it.
It's very good that I heard a lot of good compliments about you guys, and I saw your ambulance out on the road when I'm on the road, and I feel very confident, and the communities too, they'll be happy, and thank you so much for your service.
Thank you, Jenny.
Danny, thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Appreciate it. And as I had said, that kind of gives a totally thorough update of where we're at in the short term. And now for where we're at in the long term, Russ Siskin, if you mind taking the podium and leading us through that.
It's a hard act to follow. Obviously, they're out doing such a great job. But before they had that opportunity to do that and show themselves, the town had asked to have a committee to discern long-term solutions. I know that print is pretty small, but I can talk through it. And so back in February, when NEQ's time was coming to an end, I worked with John Cahill, Councilman Cahill, and we put together a committee of EMS professionals that could look at potentially the longer-term solutions that comprised of EMTs, paramedics, EMS agency chiefs, billing folks, legal and accounting expertise were on this committee. And the mission was really just to counsel the town of Webster on the various long-term EMS options available when considering their municipal authority within New York State. And the first charge was developed, that we did was to develop an RFI, a request for interested parties, to see out of the I think 21 agencies that are in and around the area, to see who might be interested in providing long-term solutions to the town. And it's just a simple question, it is a very small document, simply asking, would you be interested, Mr. or Mrs. EMS agency, in looking at providing long-term EMS response to the town of Webster? So we created a small RFI, and that was sent out in May with a deadline of June 24th, which is now passed, for folks to respond to. And there was 21 agencies that it was sent to, And we got 2 formal responses. Obviously, Penfield responded, and Monroe Ambulance also responded that they'd be interested. There were 5 formal no responses and 14 folks that didn't respond at all. So you say, well, what's next in this process? Well, the next piece would be to create a more formal RFP, request for proposal, to send out to those that responded yes, and to get more detailed information about the agencies and their abilities and interest in responding to the town, along with reviewing some of the pros and cons that might be associated with other options that the town may have, such as forming their own department, like other municipalities around New York State have. Not many, but a few. So that process, as June 24th is just passed, we just finally got the last of the responses. We'll be looking at that in the coming weeks, and that's pretty much it. Any questions from the board?
Do you have any idea what the timeline of coming back to the board with some findings on these would be?
Well, we have to create the RFP,
Right.
right, which is a bit of an arduous process in of itself, although we do have a template to use, and we have to review with the town the kind of things that it wants to see in there, for instance, metrics, financial obligations, this kind of thing. So until we actually can create that RFP and get it out, I couldn't answer that question. I mean, I think a reasonable time to respond to it would be 30 to 60 days, right? So, hopefully we can produce an RFP in 30 to 60 days.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think that's a rough estimate, so 60 to 120 days.
I would hope that because our current contract goes through the end of the year, that perhaps we'd be looking at something by the end of October.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I think you need at least 60 days at the end as well.
I'm curious, how many non-municipal or commercial ambulances were included in the 21, I think it's 21 RFIs that went out?
Municipal?
I don't know, am I using the wrong, maybe I'm using the wrong term.
Yeah, we wouldn't
Town.
get another town to respond.
A town, well, I'm considering a town ambulance
No,
municipal, but it's a town ambulance.
No, there's no municipal ambulances that would be available.
Like Penfield
Yeah.
being a town. So
Well,
I might be calling it the wrong thing, but there are other ambulance agencies that aren't associated with a town, like Monroe and AMR, and putting those in a different category.
All the agencies are private. Whether they carry the name of a town that's their choice. I mean, these folks could be,
I see,
Dan
I
and Glenn's.
didn't realize
It
that.
could be Dan and Glenn's ambulance. I mean, that's what I voted for, but they turned it down. So no, there's no, those kind of situations.
I understand.
I think all 21 that were sent out were either non-profit EMS agencies or
Yes,
profit.
but all private companies.
They're all private companies.
They're all private.
And it's interesting, in Monroe County, the only town of the 19 towns that has municipal authorities with New York State is the town of Webster.
Yeah, oh yeah. well,
Honeywell Falls.
And I think village-wise,
Honeywell Falls,
whatever,
Massachusetts.
Honeywell Falls, I think, have their
Yes.
own ambulance department under their authorities, but
Honeywell Falls meant it's a.
as Russ said, there's other, and part of the long-term, review pros and cons of the town of Webster using its current New York State authorities to create an EMS department. Where we own, the town government
Yep.
Yeah.
owns
It's pretty-
ambulances,
the rigs.
owns the rigs, owns
That is pretty rare.
It is rare.
But it exists, but it's rare.
The other 18 towns in Monroe County, they would not have to look at that option. They don't have municipal authorities.
Right.
We do. And that's a whole nother kettle of fish story of how we got it. But I do want to just say, and I don't mean, the questions might come from this side, that Russ is a very highly accomplished business owner, entrepreneur, but has 30-plus years of EMS experience, both as the chairman of the board of NOVA, North Onondaga, volunteer ambulance, which is Clay, New York,
Yep, not a play.
and also the boots on the ground CFO, CEO of running that operation. And you might say, well, what is he, 30 years and he's running that organization, why is he here? Well, you moved to Webster 10 years ago?
2010, I moved here.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
15 almost years.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm paraphrasing what you said to me is that when you moved here, the Clay group, we still need you in the leadership of Nova. And so, interestingly enough, we lucked out having a citizen, one of our people that live in Webster that has that kind of background, not only in EMS, but has run successful businesses, started and run and sold successful businesses. So that's a real feather in our cap to have someone like him co-chairing a committee along with John Cahill, our town councilman, who has been the liaison to EMS for however many years. And that I called it the dream team initially, who they got to get on this consultant committee is a really impressive group of EMS chiefs and building people, and like you said, I've been very impressed by it. The smartest thing they did, your committee, was say that I couldn't be on it.
Yeah.
That's when I knew that they were very intelligent.
And that was after the first meeting,
Yeah,
correct?
they said, no, you need to go. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So,
Well, thanks, Tom.
thank
Any
you.
other questions?
Any, Jenny or?
Thank you for all you do for us.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Russ. Good luck with the next steps.
Yeah. Wait, Dolly, we're on time here tonight, huh? In honor of your last board meeting is, so next up tonight, Matt Chatfield, I think, and Josh, are you involved in presenting this at all, or is it Matt solely?
Primarily Matt, I'm here for support.
Okay, Matt Chatfield, who is the executive director of the Webster Economic Development Alliance, we call it WEDA, is going to give a presentation on a proposed grant application by WEDA that would have to be in for the CFA deadline in New York State by July 30th, which is about 5 weeks out. So, Matt, I'm going to hand it on.
Great, thank you very much. I appreciate your time this evening. A quick clarification that actually the grant application is, the lead on the grant is actually the Village of Webster. And both WEDA and the town will be sort of co-applicants. So I'll describe that a little bit. So the Reimagine Webster initiative is something we started probably in October of 18, or I'm sorry, October of 22. In late 21, the village applied for state funding, it was awarded about $200,000 for a master plan. And this is surrounding the area of Xerox, our industrial area, mainly centered on the Phillips Road corridor, which is this, you know, kind of a nexus of the vacant and kind of, I wouldn't say barren, but it's basically closed down industrial activity. So this program basically funds master planning efforts and then afterwards implementation efforts, but implementation of soft costs, right? So not brick and mortar, not constructing buildings, but moving projects along. And we have finalized the plan, or in the process of doing that. We've spent about 18 months with professional consultants hired by the village. The town has been participating in the process along with Xerox Corporation. The town has been on the advisory committee. And the study area itself is in yellow on the screen. I promise you there's 18 slides, but I'm going to breeze through these pretty quickly. Within the study area boundary is the town's rec center. A good portion of the north end of the village business district is also in the study area, and about 230 acres of Xerox property as well. This area has been poorly planned, if not just kind of not planned at all, largely because it has been along that intermunicipal boundary, right? It's always been at the boundary between the town and the village. Neither municipality has really taken ownership of what the future of this area is going to look like, so the alliance stepped in and has been pushing this effort forward to identify the future, to reimagine the future of this area, and a lot of it had to do with what is the future of our industrial complex. So the two steps in the process, first step, it's almost done, right? We spent about $215,000 of consulting fees towards the completion of a master plan, and the next step is funding area-specific plans, studies, investigations. The village can apply for up to $500,000 in these soft cost studies for this first round of funding, and it's not precluded from applying for more should other projects come to fruition. And 90% of the project cost is funded by the state, so the local sponsor of the project has to come up with the required 10% match. It just so happens that many months ago, this board executed a memorandum of understanding with the village to be a part of this overall master planning effort. And that was a wise choice because now the town is eligible to be a co-applicant for 90 cents on the dollar for grant funds associated with implementation projects for this program. Just a quick overview. The study area itself, it's about 488 to 500 acres. It's been compartmentalized into what we call strategic sites. One of the largest strategic sites is the town's recreation complex, in addition to what we call the Xerox West campus, which is just to the south on the other side of Chiota Drive. And Chiota Drive being the focus of this potential project. So, just to give you a quick understanding, this planning process had quite a bit of public engagement. We sat down with the town's recreation department, trying to understand, what are your needs for your campus? What's the vision for the future? What are you seeing from a need and demand on the recreation side? The rec center is getting a lot of usage, a spike in usage. The trails, the pickleball facilities, all being heavily used. But still, the visibility of the complex itself is something that Chris Pyle would like to improve, especially from an awareness perspective, and of course improving, accessibility and drive-by traffic. And also pushing that the branding of this is community-based and not just maybe perceived as potentially just a senior center. We went out to the business community, we went out to the summer celebration, and when we talked about what do people want to see in the community, these are the things that rose to the top. So at the summer celebration back in 2023, we had a booth, public art, farmers market, outdoor venues, an amphitheater, sports facilities. We met with business owners. The following week, yet again, amphitheater, improved trails, public art, farmers markets. These are all of these elements that have been rising to the top. So we took that to heart, and we also did an economic analysis, trying to understand what is the economy telling us? What are we capable of doing within the area? The number one priority need from an economic perspective was identified as housing, with over 1,000 units capable of being supported, new housing units within the next 5 years, both homeowner and rental, and a mixture of varieties, not just single family, multifamily, duplexes, townhomes, and apartments. So the team put together a plan based on all the information that it gathered. And the rec center is at the northern end of that plan. Across the street from that plan is across the street from the rec center is what's proposed to be a new mixed-use neighborhood, 500 to 700 housing units, with a mixture of some ancillary and supportive retail, entertainment, and/or sports and athletic facilities, as well as a signature public gathering space. The area in pink, on this slide, it's kind of outlined in pink, that's the Chiota Drive component of the project. And it is envisioned and recommended as part of the master plan that Chiota Drive be extended west through 250. And what that accomplishes is creates a brand new gateway entrance into the town's recreation facility, a new access point from the west along one of our main state highways traveling north-south, And it also sort of rationalizes the roadway network surrounding that large neighborhood site. So we have multiple points of ingress and egress from this larger development area. And as well, as well, that's the location of a proposed 8C is what's on the graphic in front of you. A proposed conceptualization of where an amphitheater, a public amphitheater, programmed by the town's recreation department would be located. And this has received the support of the recreation department as well. And I wanted to take a quick step back on this slide just to bring in the broader picture. This has been hopefully many of you have seen this slide. This is a zoom out of a 1,500 acre area we call the Northeast Area for Technology. So 7 major industrial and/or redevelopment sites. Site number 1 is that West Complex site that's in the heart of the Reimagine Webster Initiative. 2 and 3 are also in the Reimagine Webster Initiative, but they've been identified for industrial activity. But this provides the broader framework of why the extension of Chiota Drive is important, because it would create a 2-mile long network from Route 250 all the way to Basket Road via the proposed extension of Boulder Industrial Parkway. So now we're creating this east-west corridor that's going to connect neighborhoods, the recreation center, and new opportunities for employment across in an east-west direction. It's something that is direly needed, and it would take pressure off of Schlegel Road, a little bit of pressure off of Clem Road, as well as unnecessary travel on short-term travel on Route 104. And further, this is a further conceptualization of a smaller study area project that we've been working on. The BOA master plan has taken this to the next level. This is a project that we started probably 3 or 4, maybe 5 years ago, but providing that gateway entrance into the recreation complex. This map actually turns you 90 degrees. 104 is on the right-hand side. So the Chiota Drive extension and the formulation of a new Chiota Drive trail. The extension of the roadway is just shown in a dotted line in yellow. It would travel east-west. A new intersection would be created that would also provide access to the town's first responders play park. So the road would be realigned, that entry drive would be realigned to a 4-way intersection. And then the proposed amphitheater would be further refined in that zone in the brown or khaki. And what this does is it creates part of a broader trail network and creates a loop from the rec center through the bird sanctuary trail to Sexton Park, then back on the 104 trail into the village center, and then back up through the new mixed-use development. And now we're creating a real amenity for not just this new neighborhood, but for the industrial area to the east. So that employees, they have a bona fide, looping path of a little over 1.5 miles. And from a recreation perspective, that's something that a lot of employees on the eastern side in the Xerox campus, they're very interested in being active. So we're further supporting that, and it connects them with the town's rec center and all that has to offer. So the proposed project that the town is eligible to submit would take the project through conceptual design, alternatives analysis, basically as a feasibility study, and identify a preferred alternative and preliminary cost estimates. So it's really just understanding, can we accomplish the extension of this roadway in a meaningful and delicate and respectful manner to both the environment and the adjacent properties. The anticipated cost of that is roughly $180,000 to $200,000. Local matching request of $18,000 to $20,000. July 24 is the submission. Typically, we don't find out about these grants until the end of the year. And then by the time we get under contract with the state, we're looking at a spring, May, maybe June, start to the project. And then from there, I would anticipate, probably an 18-month, 12 to 18-month project. And with that, I am opening up, opening up the floor to any questions.
Matt, what are some of the challenges as far as landowners go with the extension of Child Drive?
The proposed alignment is 100% on town only.
So Xerox doesn't come into play with this extension at all?
Not at all. All the land is owned by the town fee simple.
Great. Yes.
That does make a lot of sense.
Yes, it does.
That pretty much makes it a non-issue.
It does.
Yeah.
And I guess with Paul Adams, since you're right next to Matt, when we're talking about numbers like this, well, first of all, the only resolution the town board would have to do to put WIDA in a position to apply for this grant.
So the resolution would be that upon award that the town is committing to funding, it's 10% match.
I think we got that queued up for next week.
Yep, I'm working with Josh and we're finalizing the language. It's going to be a carry-on of the village's resolution, because the village is the lead applicant. So the format of the resolution is largely dictated by the state and very straightforward. But you had a question for Mr. Adams?
What, there's no bonding needed or anything like that to apply for the CFA grant.
You may be in luck in that with its location on the town's recreation complex, I don't know. I think you wouldn't even use general funds, you could probably use trust fund, park trust fund.
Yeah, I think it would come from general fund
Or general.
initially.
You have options.
Well, I think it's great to utilize that space, especially the Xerox property right across the street from the rec center that's just been empty for years. I love the idea of the walking trails. I'd have to see conceptually all of the things that you're proposing to put in that spot, because it's an awful lot when you're talking about housing, businesses, walking trails, and an amphitheater. Maybe it's just me, it doesn't seem like that space is that big to accommodate all that. I mean, I imagine you could make that work, but it would seem like there would be an awful lot in there.
So just as a conception, just to underscore what is being analyzed currently as part of this project, the project that's being proposed is just the extension of Chowder Drive and the creation of a trail along Chowder Drive. Everything to the south of Chowder Drive is part of it's privately owned, and it will be going out for, it'll be going up on the market soon for private development. Okay, so there's nothing as part of what the town would be controlling on the area south of Chowder. It's everything north of Chowder.
Okay.
And I'm glad you brought that slide back up, because that does give a visual that this really, the town's portion is north of Chiota. That amphitheater, Chris has already been talking about that space, the parking lot there in 8A or whatever. This is all town stuff. What's south of there, that's 80-acre campus of Xerox, West Campus. As Matt said, it's probably going up for sale. It'll be interesting to see how that all plays out.
The goal of this effort was to force the vision for what should happen on that 80-acre site, rather than let someone else dictate a vision that maybe wasn't what the community wanted to see. There was robust community engagement on what should happen on that 80-acre site, and that's where this concept came from. Granted, it might not look exactly like this when it's done, but there's a lot of elements that you see here that will be a requirement for future development.
And really, that 80-acre site south of Chiota, so many factors will go into play with the market demands. Xerox, they're a private owner, they don't have to sell, they don't want to.
Right.
I do think the town board needs to know that about 27 acres at the north of that 80-acre campus is in the town. Municipal line of the town separated from the village right now goes through kind of the middle of a building. So the village is aware, Xerox is aware, the town should be aware. The 80 acres that Xerox wants to sell, in that configuration is probably not going to be a real thumbs up to a private investor saying, oh great, I'm buying 80 acres and I've got to toggle between two municipalities as I develop it. So there's been preliminary discussions about, well, does that, we move the municipal line north and have that all be in the village. And so then the developer, whoever buys that land only has to deal with village planning, zoning, all that. And those are very preliminary discussions between village leadership and town leadership right now, because obviously the town would want something in exchange for that. And we've, Matt, I'd say just, brief discussions about, well, on the other side of Phillips, where does the line move, or one of these campuses that Xerox is looking to sell now becomes all town. You know what I mean? So, very preliminary. What I like what Matt brought today is there's not a lot of ifs and buts and candy and nuts. This is all town land. This is all rec center. This is all doable. It almost doesn't matter what happens south of Chiota.
Correct.
Because that's a crapshoot at this point. There are so many different factors, and as Councilman Cahill said earlier, which was a very astute question, what's the land that we have to go through to do that extension in Chiota? I was thrilled to find out it's all town-owned land, because I think it's very highly publicized and known the challenges we're running into right now getting the 1,600-foot Bolter Parkway extension done.
Right.
Because that 1,600-foot extension, 500 of it goes through school district land, and the remaining 1,100 goes through Xerox. The school district and the town seem to have a deal in principle on how they would handle that. We do not have a deal with Xerox right now. We're working on it. We've got attorneys involved, the village attorney, the town attorney, but a lot of moving parts. And you, Jen, knowing better than anybody having worked for Xerox, when they are in play, I couldn't sit here and tell you how long this is going to take and what the final version of it's going to look like. So I'm just going to tell you what Matt showed today. This is totally town. There is no third-party place like Xerox that we're like, well, we hope they do this and that, and this won't come through. This has nothing to do with that.
Well, that's good to know.
All under our control.
Other than basically needing to be in cooperation with the village to obtain the funds, which is not an issue.
Yep.
It's largely a unilateral project.
I also think creating the vision, which you have, and I think it's wonderful. I love what you're proposing here, or what the community has really said they want. It's not what you're proposing.
Right.
But I think that the development of that town piece will kind of set the stage for what's expected on the other properties and what could go in there and want to be a part of supporting these additional recreation facilities.
The town is in the position to kind of lead the charge on the Reimagine initiative through this project. So it's actually exciting.
It's a good position to be in.
Jenny, any questions or comments?
So you have to analyze this a little bit, but thank you so much.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
Well, wow, where did the time go, Dolly? We don't do round tables at workshops, so are you okay if we just end this meeting? Okay.
Or do you want to go back to the vote?
She's already mad at me. She didn't hit me yet, so that's good.
I just
Thank you
wanna wind her up
everybody
a
for
little
coming, and for everybody watching at home live or on tape. Have a great evening, and we're all done for tonight.
response.
I thought the little girl was getting up.